$51 million. That's what the winner of this World Cup takes home. Biggest prize in the history of the tournament. The total pool is $871 million, split across 48 teams. Lose every single game, and you still walk away with $10 million. That's probably the number you searched for. Here's the thing. On this World Cup's books, the prize money is a rounding error. There are two bigger numbers. Number one, FIFA, the organization handing out those prizes, will collect $13 billion this cycle. Two, and nobody's searching for this one, every American city hosting these games is losing money. More than $100 million each. So, the champion gets $51 million. FIFA gets $13 billion. US Soccer, as the host federation, gets a check for about $100 million. And 11 American cities get the bill. Call it $1 billion split 11 ways. That's the World Cup tradition. The trophy goes to whoever wins, the bill goes to whoever hosts. None of this is an accident. It's all in the contract, line by line. And the contract didn't always look like this. In 1994, the last time the World Cup came to America, the Americans made money. Here's the strange part. The man who ran that tournament, the man who made that money, is named Alan Rothenberg. And this year, he's sitting on the Los Angeles host committee, signing the deal that loses money. Same guy. Made a fortune last time. Signed up to lose one this time. Did he forget how business works? He didn't. He understands better than anyone what happened in between. And that's today's story. How the World Cup contract got rewritten. One line at a time. 1994, the World Cup comes to America for the first time. America at this point does not have a professional soccer league. Soccer is a thing your kids do after school. And US Soccer, the federation, is broke. Broke enough that when they landed the biggest sporting event on earth, their first move wasn't celebration. It was damage control. They set up a separate organizing committee, legally walled off from the federation, so that when the tournament lost money, when, not if, it wouldn't drag US Soccer down with it. They even wrote a clause into the deal. If there's ever a surplus, every dollar goes to a charitable foundation. Nobody lost sleep over that clause. Why would they? Every big tournament before this one had lost money. What were the odds that the one country that didn't watch soccer would break the streak? The man running it was Alan Rothenberg, yes, that one, then the president of US Soccer. Years later, he'd laugh about it, calling himself a cockeyed optimist, possibly the only optimist in the building. And then the American public made its own federation look silly. 9 cities. All existing stadiums, not one built. 3.5 million people showed up, nearly 70,000 a game. That total attendance record stood for 32 years. It only fell this summer, and only because FIFA doubled the number of games, which is one way to break a record. Final tally, a surplus of $50 to $60 million. In today's money, about $131 million. Why did that money go to US Soccer? Read the 1994 deal. FIFA took the broadcast rights and the international sponsorships. Everything else stayed in the host country. Ticket sales? The organizing committees. Domestic sponsorships? The committees. The contract decided who keeps the money if there is any. Attendance decided whether there was any. The contract was signed years in advance. The attendance was the surprise. What the Federation failed to predict wasn't the revenue split. It was that Americans would actually show up. And what happened to the windfall? It went to the US Soccer Foundation. Along the way, they loaned $5 million in seed money to a brand new league nobody had heard of. That league was MLS. All of modern American professional soccer grew out of a surplus that was never supposed to exist. Worth noting, the winner here was the Federation's committee, not the cities. Not all 9 host cities opened their books, but Boston's committee did. It lost about $1.3 million that year. Why so little? Because in 1994, a host city's to-do list was short. Security meant paying local cops some overtime, not the 9-figure counterterrorism operation it is today. The cities didn't profit. But they didn't bleed either. So mark the 1994 scoreboard. FIFA takes the international money, the Federation takes the domestic money, the cities chip in pocket change. Now, a quick quiz. This year's tournament is twice the size. FIFA's revenue is dozens of times what it was in 1994. So, how much does US Soccer expect to collect? About $100 million. The tournament got dozens of times bigger. The host federation's cut got smaller. Smaller than 32 years ago. And the cities went from losing 1 million each to losing 100 million each. Both ends of the American side got worse. So, where did the money go? What happened to that contract? FIFA's business has one feature every other industry would kill for. It is the only game in town. One World Cup, every 4 years, and the buyers line up around the block. Governments want prestige, cities want the spotlight, politicians want the ribbon-cutting photo. One seller, many buyers. You don't need an economics degree to see where this goes. The buyers bid against each other until every last dollar of benefit lands in the seller's pocket. And the bidding never stopped. It escalated for 30 years. Starting in the late 90s, TV rights money went vertical. FIFA's revenue chart stopped looking like a hill and started looking like a cliff. Meanwhile, the host's to-do list kept growing. 2006, Germany has to provide government guarantees. 2010, South Africa builds 5 new stadiums. 2022, Qatar spends over $200 billion and essentially constructs half a country. This wasn't one villainous FIFA president. This was every president taking one more step in the same direction. When you're the only seller, why would you ever lower the price? Then, 2016, Gianni Infantino runs for FIFA president on a promise you have to admire for its honesty: quadruple FIFA's revenue. Once elected, he takes the final step. The local organizing committee, the entity Rothenberg used in 1994, the one that kept the tickets and the domestic money, abolished. FIFA now runs the tournament itself and signs directly with the cities on one standardized global contract. No negotiations, sign it, or lose the bid. In 2026, that model arrived in America. So what's in the contract? Here's the best part. You're not allowed to know. Multiple host cities still refuse to release their agreements. The few that came out under pressure have the key numbers blacked out. Read that again. A contract committing hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. And the version the taxpayers get to see has the prices redacted. Redacting the numbers on a bill you're sending to the public, that belongs in a business school textbook, in the chapter on what not to do. But reporters have pieced together enough lines through the black bars. Let's read them, line by line. Revenue, 4 streams. Broadcast, FIFA's. Tickets, FIFA's. Sponsorships, FIFA's. Hospitality, FIFA's. Costs, 4 streams. Security, the cities. Transit, the cities. Stadium upgrades, the cities. Fan festivals, the cities. And in the middle sits US Soccer, collecting its $100 million. FIFA cuts the host federation a check and calls it a partnership. You already know this structure. It's a franchise. The franchisee pays to open the store, corporate takes the revenue. Except McDonald's at least lets the franchisee keep the burger money. In FIFA's version, the burger money goes to headquarters too. And the fine print gets better as it goes. Buckle up. Cities are allowed to sell local sponsorships to offset their costs. Sounds fair. Except the contract says they can't touch any category belonging to a FIFA global sponsor. Soda, beer, airlines, payments, every category with real money in it is taken. The cities get to sell whatever's left over, which is to say, not much. Stadium naming rights, covered up for the tournament. MetLife paid real money to put its name on that building. For this 1 month, it's New York, New Jersey Stadium, your building. FIFA's borrowing the name, you'll get it back. Stadium parking, $200 to $300 per spot, per game. And who collects it? FIFA, your car, the city's land. FIFA's parking revenue. Ticket resale. On the official platform, the buyer pays 15%. The seller pays another 15%. One ticket changes hands once, and FIFA takes 30% of the trade. Somewhere, a Ticketmaster executive is taking notes. And the deepest cut of all, buried in the fine print, taxes. Several states exempted FIFA's ticket sales from sales tax. When they modeled it, the giveaway looked small. Then FIFA switched on dynamic pricing. Ticket prices went to the moon, and the exempted taxes went with them. Missouri alone watched its foregone revenue grow from an estimated $5.9 million to about $15.7 million. 3 states combined, nearly $60 million in public money waved goodbye. Follow the logic here. The hotter the tickets sell, the more money the cities give away. Most businesses lose money when things go badly. This contract found a way to lose more money when things go well. That's innovation. So who covers the hard costs? Like security? The federal government, through FEMA, $625 million to the 11 host cities. Federal money, which is a polite way of saying everyone's money. Call it $5 a household. Don't live in a host city? Never watched a single match? Congratulations. You are an official sponsor of the 2026 World Cup, just without the category protection. Oh, and FIFA's own books this cycle. Operating budget, $1.1 billion. Revenue, $13 billion. Now, back to Rothenberg. 32 years ago, he built American soccer's first fortune on a contract that said, "The tickets are mine, the domestic money is mine." Today, he sits on the Los Angeles host committee, looking at a contract where both of those lines belong to FIFA. His assessment, delivered flatly to a reporter: everyone signed very one-sided agreements. He has the resume, he has the track record. He made the single best deal in the history of this business. And this time, all he could do was sign. Not because he lost a step, because the table changed. There is still only one seller, and the line of buyers now goes out the door. Which brings us to the real question. If even he knows it's one-sided, why are cities still fighting to sign? Are city officials just stupid? No. And that's what makes this interesting. Every person in this chain is making the smartest possible decision for themselves. Add all those smart decisions together, and the city loses money. First, the people who decide to bid are not the people who pay the bill. Who pushes the bid? The host committee. And who sits on the host committee? Stadium owners, hotel groups, construction firms, law firms, tourism boards. Every seat at that table collects money directly from the event. For them, hosting is pure profit, worth fighting for. The costs? Spread across millions of taxpayers, a few dollars each. Nobody takes a day off work to fight a few dollars at a public hearing. Concentrated profits show up in lobby. Scattered costs stay home. The bid always has an army. The opposition never reaches quorum. Second, the person who signs and the person who pays are separated by one election. Ribbon cuttings, photo ops, waving on a global broadcast, those happen during your term. Security overruns and budget holes, those happen after it. For the official, signing is a guaranteed political win. The bill is the next administration's math problem. Of course, the signature needs a justification. That's what impact reports are for. There is an entire industry that manufactures optimism on demand. FIFA's president, standing next to the president of the United States, announced that this World Cup would generate $30.5 billion for the US economy and 200,000 permanent jobs. Sit with the word permanent for a second. A one-month event, 200,000 permanent jobs. By that math, host a few more of these and America solves unemployment. New York's committee announced its own forecast, $3.3 billion in economic impact, and announced it by ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. The prediction hadn't come true yet, but the bell had definitely been rung. And these reports all use the same recipe. Count total spending as pure gain, credit the whole region's numbers to the city, skip the public costs, skip the spending that would have happened anyway. And their track record is remarkably consistent. Economists went back and audited 1994. The actual economic performance of those 9 host regions came in billions of dollars below what the reports had promised. The report's job is to justify the signature. Coming true was never in the contract. Third, the people actually making money aren't in City Hall. They're at the stadium. Foxborough, Massachusetts, home of Gillette Stadium, owned by the Kraft family. The Krafts stepped up and paid $7.8 million to cover the tournament's public safety costs. The headlines read like charity. The balance sheet reads like an investment. The stadium is theirs. FIFA pays them rent. 7 World Cup matches in that building. A full month of parking, concessions, and hotel traffic, all on their land. That $7.8 million isn't a donation. It's customer acquisition with a phenomenal return. Same tournament, same stadium. The town almost paid, the owner gets paid. The difference isn't intelligence, it's whose name is on the revenue line of the contract. Economist Victor Matheson's verdict on this arrangement, I'm just passing it along. Taxing blue-collar workers so wealthier people can watch games in a nicer stadium is some of the worst public policy there is. Fourth, on the bill-paying side of the table, people are starting to walk. That Kraft check, it exists because Foxborough's taxpayers held a town vote and refused to pay. Their position, roughly, why is this our bill? Chicago saw it even earlier, declined to join the 2026 bid entirely, and said why. The contract was non-negotiable, and those terms weren't worth signing. Vancouver pulled out of one round before coming back with its eyes open. And Boston? Boston ran the 2024 Olympic bid out of town back in 2015. The contract didn't change. The number of people who actually read it did. So, what about the next one? The winners and losers of a mega event have nothing to do with the score and nothing to do with the forecast. It's all in the contract. Whose name is on the revenue? Whose name is on the costs? And who's on the hook when it goes over? This tournament's answers: the revenue, FIFA; the rent, a check, the federation; the cost, the cities; and holding the bag underneath all of it, city taxpayers and federal taxpayers together. 6 parties, 1 tournament, 6 different endings. 5 of them knew their ending before kickoff. So, the next time a mega event roadshow rolls into your city, there will be a glossy economic impact report stapled to the front of the proposal. Skip it.